All right, we are recording.
Okay, we will now call the December 2nd Corcoran Planning Commission to order, and we will do roll call. Commissioner Scholak.
Here.
Commissioner Lanterman.
Here.
Commissioner Brummond.
Here.
Commissioner Vanden 90.
Here.
And Commissioner Jacobs is here. All right, we are all in attendance. At this moment, for those that would like, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to our sold-out crowd once again here, and to those of you online. Our next item, we have a new planning commissioner to introduce, Jay Vanden 90, who was appointed by the city council to occupy the remainder time for Commissioner Meredith Wu, who resigned at our last meeting. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you.
We're glad that you were able to fill in so quickly. You had applied during the previous opening, and so being that we had your application, it was so fresh, it was an easy fill. So at this point, is there anything you'd like to tell the city about yourself or your family, or?
Well, I've lived here for about 6 years, married. I have 2 kids, a 14-year-old son and a just turned 12-year-old daughter. And so we live kind of on the north side, I guess it would be of Corcoran. So we're on 10 acres, so we're kind of in a rural environment, and we love that. So waiting for snow. We're getting excited. We're new snowmobilers. Just 2 years now we've snowmobiled, so we're going in on it. So we're pretty excited about that. So yeah, and other than that, I've been working from home remotely. I work in technology and for United Health Group. I've been there for about 16 years, so
Right.
glad to be here.
All right, well, welcome, and we look forward to your involvement. Okay, item 4, agenda approval.
Recording in progress.
Sorry. I apologize.
No, are we good?
We're good, we're good.
Okay, so you have the agenda in front of you. Is there any questions or discussions on the agenda? No changes from staff? All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the agenda is approved. All right, at this time, item 5 is open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the community to address the Planning Commission for any items that are not currently on the agenda. Are you here for open forum?
No, we're here for the
Okay.
magnet.
All right, if there's anybody online, Natalie will give you instructions on how to get recognized.
Members of the public, if you'd like to participate in the open forum, it looks like you are all on a computer or mobile device. You should be able to access the raise your hand function using either the reactions tab, or sometimes you'll find it under the participants tab. At this time, no one's raising their hand, Mr. Chair.
All right, we'll move on to the meat and potatoes of our agenda. We have the minutes. Item 6, minutes from November 4th. Commissioner Vanden 90, you can, you weren't here, so we won't ask if you have any questions or comments on it. You can abstain from voting. And same with Commissioner Scholak. Drummond, or any changes? I didn't note any. All right. Motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that motion.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Okay, now, the main course. Item 7A is a public hearing for a preliminary plat for Magnan Acres at 9247 Trail Haven Drive. It involves multiple parcels. And at this time, we'll have entertain the staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Magnan Acres is a preliminary plat requested by Brandon and Chelsea Magnan. The request will result in 2 buildable lots where there are currently 3 parcels containing 2 buildable lots and 1 unbuildable outlot. So this is a picture of the site location. The outlot is the biggest parcel on the north, highlighted in blue, which is Outlot A of Outcult Second Edition. And then the adjacent parcel to the south is 9257 Trail Haven Road, where there is no existing single-family home. And again, immediately south is 9247 Trail Haven Road, where there is an existing single-family home. This is the preliminary plat that's being proposed. The outlot would turn into Lot 1 of Magnan Acres, and 9247 and 9257 will be consolidated into a single lot, proposed Lot 2. So the preliminary plat will allow for a single-family home to be built on proposed Lot 1 and will exhaust an unused development right that's currently assigned to the adjacent parcel 9257 Trail Haven. The plat will also result in 9247 and 9257 Trail Haven being consolidated into a single lot where there are no proposed improvements at this time. The preliminary plat consists of 13.89 acres in total, and it is zoned rural residential. Proposed Lot 1 will remain 10.38 acres in size. Proposed Lot 2 will consolidate 2 legally non-conforming lots to result in 1 conforming lot, 3.51 acres in size. Since no additional lots will result from this plat, no park dedication will be required. So the proposed lots meet or exceed all of our minimum lot standards for the RR district. There is an existing structure on the northeast quadrant of proposed Lot 2 that infringes on the rear yard setback of 15 feet, but aerial photos with Hennepin County confirm this structure predates our city code, so it's legal non-conforming. Proposed Lot 1 will have a driveway with direct access onto Trail Haven Road. Additional review of the location will occur with the submittal of a driveway permit and will ultimately be approved by Public Works. The applicants obtained preliminary approval from Hennepin County for the location of their septic system on Lot 1, and there's no changes proposed for Lot 2. A no wetland determination for proposed Lot 1 was approved in November. The wetland determination did not include proposed Lot 2, so a condition of approval for the preliminary plat requires the applicants to obtain either a wetland waiver or complete a wetland delineation for proposed Lot 2 prior to the final plat. No significant trees are planned to be removed according to the plans submitted, and the plat shows 2 new drainage and utility easements, one along all property lines for proposed Lot 1. There is an existing easement on Lot 2 along the north and west property lines, so they are just proposing to add additional easements on the southern and east property lines. The applicants submitted preliminary house plans, which satisfied all of our minimum standards. Additional review will occur with the submittal of a building permit, and this is just the front elevation that they provided. And at this time, the Planning Commission should open the public hearing and take comments. And staff recommends the commission to move to recommend approval of the draft resolution approving the preliminary plat for Magnan Acres. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Oh, I do apologize. I forgot to mention, we did receive an email earlier this afternoon with one public comment from Sandra Item, and that was emailed to you, and it's also on the dais. And that should be considered as it was being said at the public hearing.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, at this point in time, we will open the public hearing. Are you here for this public hearing?
We are, yes, yeah.
Okay, so if you would like to speak,
I guess, I mean, that pretty much covered everything we were curious about. Yeah, no comment.
Okay, all right. We don't have anybody in the audience, so those of you that are online, Natalie will once again give you instructions.
Members of the public online, if you'd like to make a comment on the preliminary plat for Magnan Acres, please raise your hand using the raise your hand function under either the reactions tab or the participants tab. And Cheryl mentioned that the applicants are online as well.
Thank you.
And I do not see any hands raised at this time.
I have to give them a little bit of time, because remember, last time I was online and tried to raise my hand, I couldn't find the raise your hand button, and apparently I don't have one.
Oh, that's not good.
Well, I was sending you emails.
You were sending
Or,
me emails?
or
was it
Jessica.
Jess? Yeah.
I was sending Jessica emails going, how do I raise my hand?
Do anything.
And she saw, the email, and then, you know, but it was like, I didn't have that little raise your hand button.
Got a couple tech guys right there.
A couple tech guys. All right, last call for anybody online to address the open hearing. Nobody?
No one online, no.
Okay. At this point, then, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Jay, you want to second
I'll
it?
second that.
All right. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Okay, commission discussion and recommendation. Does anybody, I thought maybe the three of us would go first, and would you like to start off then?
I'd be happy to. sir.
Okay, Commissioner Lanterman.
Natalie, could you pull the map back up? I just have a couple of questions. Yeah, thank you. Go to the next one, I guess. Yeah, that one. So, so the top big chunk, is that lot 1 or 2?
Proposed lot 1, yes.
Proposed lot 1, okay. And then where would the home be put? Is that on 1 or 2?
So proposed lot 1 would have a home, it's in that northeast quadrant, if you see where Kendra's mouse is.
Yep, yep.
Proposed lot 2, there's an existing home on one of the lots that's going to be consolidated basically into proposed lot 2. And that home is on the southern half of that parcel.
And there was an outbuilding, right, that's kind of in the
Correct,
back
there's a
part.
house.
Up top, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
look
on
at
the
the,
northeast quadrant, and it's not even fully in the rear yard setback because it's placed diagonally, so it's just one point that's about 11 feet from the rear property line, but it's legally non-conforming, so staff isn't recommending that we make any changes.
So with the current development rights, which lot currently has the development rights?
So the northern half of proposed lot 2 is where
Okay.
it's currently located. The address
Okay.
is 9257 Trail Haven.
Okay, so, and Natalie, I'm going to beg you for your patience with me, because I do have a few questions, and thank you for clearing that up. So I understand the mechanics of how development rights transfer, by contract, but I don't understand where the following statement comes from. Natalie, in your report, it states, quote, "The city of Corcoran only allows for the movement of a development right within a plat that includes an adjoining property that has an available development right." So basically, it seems like the way that reads is it seems like the right can move only when it's moving immediately next to where it's currently.
Correct.
I don't see that restriction in our city's code. Can you point that to me? Or
So
point me in that direction?
basically, it has to be part of the same plat. And so if it's not an adjoining property, I can try to find it in the code. Do you know where it is in the code off the top of your head?
Well, the exact language isn't in there, but it says you have to have a development right in order to build on the lot. So the exact language used in the staff report you won't find in the code, but what it says is you have to have a development right in order to develop the property. And there's nothing in the code that allows a transfer of development rights, which is something you might see in other cities where you could transfer from the east side of the city to the west. And so because it's silent, it's not permitted, because it's not specifically allowed, it's prohibited to transfer development rights. Therefore, what that means is really, I have 5 development rights on this property, 5 developments on that property. I can combine those 2 properties, like merging 2 bank accounts is how I kind of describe it when you get married, and then assign them however I want on those parcels. But I couldn't sell my development rights to somebody on the other side of town because it's not specifically permitted.
Okay, but somewhere in the code, it says that the properties have to be adjoining for
It
this?
does not. It simply
Okay.
says the property needs to have a development right in order to create a lot.
Okay, all right,
That language is in.
all right.
Our district, it just says you have to have.
Right.
Okay, and second, I did find a code section that says that the rural residential district, and I'm quoting here, landowners shall be permitted 1 development right for each 10 acres of land, and I'm referring to section 1040.030 sub 7, because the 2 properties with the development right to transfer, because in this case, since the 2 properties with the development right to transfer, since when they're combined, they're less than 10 acres, how do they have a development right to transfer in the first place?
So, I would need to pull up that plat. I think that plat is actually predates our development rights program, but a lot of record is assumed to have a development right. So you could have 10 development rights on 100 acres. You could choose to only develop that to our minimum lot size of 2 acres. Based on our current code, that'd be allowed. So then you could theoretically end up with 1 remaining parcel that has a single development right, and then you'd have smaller lots that have development right even though they're less than 10 acres, if that makes sense. It's a way to control density in the rural residential district. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain this, that the 10-acre rule is based on the original parcel, and it can be split down further, and it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be a development right for a lot that's under 10 acres.
Yeah, that's not what the code says.
That's how the development rights get assigned.
Well, the
Yeah.
code says that there's 1 development right per 10 acres of land. Okay, that's what our code 1040.030 sub 7 says. And because these 2 properties, the 2 smaller pieces, even when they're combined, it's smaller than 10 acres. So I don't understand, how is there even a development right there to transfer from one to the other?
Because again, it comes down to the original parcel. That's how the development rates would have been assigned. And you can have, the minimum lot size in the rural residential is 2 acres. And these parcels predate some of our code because they were created at a time where it could even be less than 2 acres.
Okay, I get that, but if the code currently reads the way it does, wouldn't that preclude us from approving this?
No, because there's still a development right on this property.
Right, and my guess is how? If it's less, when these 2 parcels are combined, it's smaller than 10 acres. Our code states 1 building right per 10 acres. So if we're combining these 2 parcels and together it's less than 10 acres, I'm wondering how does either of these pieces of property have a building right?
Because the building rights I don't know if I could take a stab at it, but the building rights are separate from the minimum lot size required for building. So if the original parcel was 100 acres, for saying, then they could have developed, built all those houses or buildings within, I think it was 5 acres before the 80s was what they needed to build. And then we came up with the mound, so now it's at 2 something. But if they had densely utilized all of those building rights in one area, then they had a large outlot left that there, may or may not have development rights affiliated with it. And then now, if they are selling, which I believe has already happened, that outlot, right, then the smaller piece left over originally owned by the other individual is less than 10 acres, but held a development right. Am I on the right track?
I think you are.
But I'm not explaining it any better.
I think
Well, I'm saying.
My neighborhood was very much that way. It was 60 acres is raw land. So the density is 1 house per 10 acres. So that lot was given 6 building rights. Now, the developer can take that, and he did, and he basically created 6 lots, but he couldn't build on any lot that was subdivided out of that less than 2 acres. So when he platted it, he platted 6 lots, and each one of those lots got a building right. The remaining acreage was put into an outlot, and there's no building rights left
Which is probably
on
what
it.
happened here.
Yeah, so here, this was platted according to 1 house per 10 acres, but for some reason, that one lot was assigned a building right when it was originally platted, but it was just never used.
Could I,
Now he's gonna transfer it to the adjacent
Or
owner.
they're gonna replat it, which is different than transferring it.
Right, they have to
Legally.
replat it, correct, yeah.
could I ask a follow-up?
Sure, and I'll also add that the quote has a development rights map that allows us to maintain what is left on any given parcel. So I think that that's also something.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. Has the development rights map been pulled? And do we know?
It's
that-
not on there. I did look at
If
it.
it's a lot of record, it no longer shows as a development right on there because you can no longer subdivide that lot. But it's a lot of record. It was intended to be built. And so what they could theoretically do, and we're basically skipping a step, is the Magnans could have purchased the 9257, done a lot line adjustment, and basically consolidated their lot with that lot. But the reality is they have no interest in that land, and the property owner that has the 2 Trailhaven lots would like that land. So we're skipping a second step of moving the lot lines back.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting hung up on is, okay, so the 2 parcels put together are less than 10 acres, but then the argument against that is, well, what if, 50 years ago, it was part of, it was that way. But if the development rights map has no recording of this development right on that piece of property, how can we approve this?
It's a lot of record, and so that's what tells us that it.
But that's not
if
what
it
the
wa-
code says.
Well, basically, an outlot is unbuildable, and the outlot that's unbuildable is recorded as an outlot. The 9257 of Trailhaven is an existing lot of record. I think it's lot 1 of Westwood Gardens. So that's what tells me as a planner that was a lot created to be built on.
Yeah, they could build on it right now.
Exactly.
They could build it, sell it, and so therefore we'd have 2 smaller lots. Instead, we'll have one slightly bigger.
Well, yeah, we'll have actually a
3 acre
legal
lot.
conforming lot
Yeah.
with the 3 acre.
And then a 10 acre plus one.
Yeah,
which
for a new
aligns to-
single-family home, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let me see if I understand your question, Commissioner Landerman. So you're questioning, there's the 10 acre, the large parcel, it has no building rights.
Right, per our code.
How is it possible to transfer a building right to?
That doesn't exist on the map.
Yeah.
We have.
How can you transfer something that's not recorded anywhere? and per code cannot exist.
We have several lots throughout the city that have not been built upon yet that are recorded the same way on our development rights map. Basically, the development rights in the area have been exhausted for subdivision, and so it no longer shows up on the development rights map. But it's just because it's been exhausted. They can't do any more subdivisions on those parcels. And
Right.
that's what that's showing us. But that doesn't mean that they can't build on that lot.
According to code, it means they can't build on that lot.
I don't believe that interpretation is correct, no, just because how a lot that was created with a single-family home in mind, the
In
building
whose
right
mind?
doesn't go away that's why that was subdivided, that's why the plat was created. A lot is created for the preliminary plat at one time created 10 lots,
Right,
and those lots were created with the mind of putting a home on it.
right.
And then the reality is anything, at one point, we allowed outlots to be built without a development right. We no longer allow that unless there's certain circumstances, such as an open space and preservation plat, that we do. But generally speaking, we don't allow that as part of our development rights program. At one
But
point,
I
we
think
did.
that's exactly what's happening here.
Well, this.
I mean, you're saying
outlaw
outlots
thing-
can't be developed, but yet that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, an outlaw can't be developed.
Mr. Chair?
or platted. Oh.
I'm sorry, this is Counselor Nichols. May I have the floor for just a minute? I think I might be able to clarify.
Sure.
So if I'm understanding the question and the response, it sounds like what I've heard Natalie say is the development rights map only shows excess rights beyond what is built on the lot. So if you've got a lot that hasn't been built on but is considered buildable, it wouldn't show an excess right. And I think what I'm hearing is when she's saying it's a lot of record, that's what that entails. So it doesn't show a 1 on the map, but the right to build is inherent in the lot because of its classification. Is that correct? Is this just basically how the map is constructed and where the numbers come from?
Correct, yes.
Well, Councilor Nichols, when I looked at the development rights map, I thought, well, that's maybe just an error. I mean, if we're going to have complete transparency about where a development right exists, where a house could be built legally, that little lot should have had a 1 in it. I think that would be the correct way to do it, so that somebody could, because it's been mentioned here in the letter from the neighbor that they were told that this couldn't be built upon and whatnot, but, how would you know that there was a building right available adjacent to the vacant lot, the outlot? If you looked at the development rights map, you didn't see a 1 there, so you would assume that there was no development rights adjacent to it to begin with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see your
keep
point.
looking at
I
this.
think you're right. In a perfect world, you would see, if there's a lot that doesn't have a principal structure on it, it would be nice if the map would show that that could be built on.
But, well, with all due respect, we have to follow the code. Our code says this cannot be approved, in my opinion. Mr. Chair, I would suggest that we get an opinion from the city attorney on this. Otherwise, I have to vote to deny. Thank you.
Any,
As far as an opinion from the city attorney, this has been something that we've discussed in length with the city attorney throughout just how we've administered this program throughout the years. I understand that this lot, they could come in tomorrow with a building permit for this lot, and we would issue it. It is a buildable lot,
and I think everybody understands that.
yeah.
And again, well, did you have any other follow-up questions?
No, sir.
Okay, then with all respect to our other commissioners, I'll continue because there were a lot of clarifications I wanted to get on the topic. When 2 parties discuss the transfer of a building right, does it require city approval at all?
They have to do a preliminary plat.
I'm just talking,
There is no transfer.
Well, there's a sale.
There's no transfer of a development right. That does not exist, and we got to be careful about the language we use.
okay,
Because transfer of development rights is a legal tool in some communities, but not here.
okay, then what are we
You can't
doing
plat
here?
property with development rights. So if I own two parcels, which is every development we do, if I have one or more parcels, I can choose to combine those parcels through the plat and then apply those development rights that are on those existing parcels however I want in my plat, as long as it complies with the minimum lot size.
And we actually
Okay, but
saw
if you took 3 lots to transfer building rights, but it was
lots is
required, but it
fine.
was required that you replat it, you're not gonna have 3 lots at the end anyway.
I don't follow.
Well,
I have 3 lots of record.
but let me give you an example, because this is